underdog. I've been through it all. I could never.
What's good, you guys? Welcome back to For the Underdogs podcast. Again, I'm out here in Miami at the PAC event, the Next Chapter U event that Pro Athlete Community has put on. And I got the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Shon Hart, who I had the pleasure of meeting out in Arizona. And he gave a super powerful speech on stage, and man, it was super dope to hear and just see the way that he controlled the crowd and really grabbed my attention from the start. So I'm excited to talk to him, and I think you guys will love it as well. So, man, welcome. Appreciate you being here.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate being a part of this podcast, man. I see you on socials, and I see you killing it. So when you asked me to come on, man, it was like a no-brainer, bro.
Yeah, man, that's dope. I appreciate you being here. Let's talk about keynote speaking. And how you kind of got into it, because I feel like you have a unique skill set. And you're able to adapt in many different ways and kind of adjust to whatever the crowd may be giving you. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you got started in that.
The crazy thing, man, is like very unique. I had a guy ask me that earlier, and I don't think I talked about that part of it a lot, man, but it was the funny thing about it, man, it started, man, when I started dating my wife, right? You know what I mean? And when I was dating my wife, her mom wasn't really feeling me, right? She knew I was an athlete, the whole nine. And I really wasn't showing a whole lot of, God in me, right? So her mom was super protective. And so I would come over, she would always just like, she'd be cordial, but, wasn't going all in. But she had to support her daughter, right? Because her daughter was feeling me, you know what I mean? Right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, right?
Got to.
But on this one particular day, man, when she wasn't feeling me, like it was like 2 weeks later, bro, she came out the back room where she was, and she looked at me, and she was like, the Lord spoke to me. And I knew she was super religious. I never heard about all this. The Lord spoke to me. She was like, but the Lord spoke to me. And I'm like bracing myself. And she says to me that the Lord said that he's calling you to preach. And bro, that was like, I wasn't even saved then, right? I didn't know really anything about the faith, man. And so fast forward about, 10 years, man, went through salvation, the whole nine, just started preaching in the church. But when I was working in the prison with what she had planted that seed, really started to cultivate. And once I got into the prison and started serving men, I was given a platform to where I was speaking a lot more. And God just began to open the door for me to use my voice and use the anointing he placed on my life, man, to heal men, right? To heal people. So that's where it started, bro.
What does that feel like, speaking in a prison? Obviously, a lot of people might be intimidated by that. And I would imagine you probably had some of the same feelings around it, but what is that like?
Bro, the crazy thing, like I never wanted to work in the prison, right? Because I wanted to go to the NFL. Like that was what I thought my trajectory was. But here I was being this father, being a husband, and I needed to provide, right? And so I got to a place where I'm like, God, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just need you to get me out of this situation. I need to provide for my family. And it was very, he was very loud and, just like, yo, you told me that you'll do whatever I want you to do. He's like, I want you to go work in the prison. And bro, I struggle with that because my brother was murdered my freshman year in college.
Wow.
And so with that, I'm like, bro, I don't want anything to do with the prison. And so it was funny, the very thing that became like my trauma became the very thing that God had raised me up to go and serve.
Wow.
Right? And so going there, I was very reluctant. And my thing was like, yo, I'm going to convert all of these jokers to Christianity.
Yeah.
I found out real quick, man. He said, Shon, I didn't send you there to convert. I sent you to serve. And so, bro, it was life-changing because I found myself, right, in the midst of trying to help these men. Once I got that concept, bro, I got healed myself, working in the prison, man. So I'll tell you the truth, man. I do a lot of stuff. I speak to people like you, which is amazing, right? I get to speak to all these people. But the best job I ever had, man, was serving in the prison, bro.
Really?
I got to serve men that everybody else threw away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
so
real.
that was the greatest, career or path or whatever that I ever had, man.
Wow, you talked about experiencing the loss of your brother, and you know
Yeah.
how ironic it was that you were speaking in the prison. Do you think that part of that path was for you to heal that portion?
Oh, bro, lights out. Like
Yeah.
no doubt that was because I got to a place like when I got saved, this young lady had a dream. And she came to me and she was like, Shon, I had a dream about you last night. Right now, I'm married. I'm like, yo, don't be dreaming
what you
about me. You
talking
know what
about?
I mean? But she was like, yo, I had a dream that you was on this bus and you was the driver and you was riding through the streets and it was on fire. And you kept stopping and you was picking up men and putting them on this bus. And so here, fast forward, here I'm working in this prison. And the Lord reminded me, like, Shon, this is the beginning of you being a bus driver. Like, I'm putting you on fire, that you are going to heal men from the inside out. And so not only that, right, because I couldn't heal those men if I couldn't heal myself. And I had an inmate look me in my eyes like, chap, he was like, yo, I appreciate what you're doing, but who's healing you? And bro, I had to really look at that because I say this all the time, man. You never want to be a public success and a private failure.
Man, it'll eat away at you.
And so I no longer wanted to go to the prison like everything was cool, but I was still hurt on the inside. And so that was one of the things that really started where I had to wind up forgiving a dude who murdered my brother. You know, I wind up forgiving him, man. And so much so that I not text him, but if anybody know about JPay, right? That's how you communicate with inmates, right?
Yeah.
I went on JPay, I found him. And I sent him an email and told him, like, yo, if you have changed, right? He hit probably about 20 year bit. He was like doing life, but this was like about 20 years in. And so, but I said, yo, if you have changed, I'll write a letter on your behalf, man, for you to be free.
Wow.
And I forgave him. And he wound up being locked up with my nephew.
Wow.
And my nephew hit me up and he was like, yo, my man is here. What you want us to do? And so here I have the power to say, yo, get him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, my thing was no, like, yo, it's time to heal, man. And so I forgave my man. And the crazy thing about it, we Facebook friends.
Wow.
The man who murdered my brother, dog.
Wow. That takes a lot to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it took everything out of me, right?
Yeah.
Right. It took everything out of me because what I do full time, man, is that I help fathers restore their relationships with their children.
And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about being a champion father and what that means to you.
Yeah.
But I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine, man. But that's what I do, right? And so here it is, doing that work. Like I couldn't really do that work without doing my internal work first. And so that's where a lot of that stuff was birthed at, like in the prison, in the trenches, like really doing my heart work.
What does internal work look like for you? What is that? Because I have my own version of it and what has worked and continues to work for me in my times of need. But what does internal work look like for you in that standpoint?
Yeah, the first thing for me is I come through with grace. Right? Like that's the first thing I start with, right? Like I give myself permission to go through this process that may be really, really ugly, right? Like without judgment. And so my next thing is extreme vulnerability, right? And so when I'm talking about extreme vulnerability, bro, I talk about everything that has gone to me, like in a safe place, right?
Yeah.
Where I will talk about my challenges, like when I was struggling with masturbation and pornography, right? When I was bringing that into my marriage, when my wife looked me in my eyes and said, let's pray, instead of rejecting me, right? Because I'm like, I'm going to keep going through this process and God like, yo, you want to get delivered. You keep asking me, but you're doing this in the dark.
Right.
Like, so if you really, really want to get healed, go tell your wife. It's all, so that's what I had to do, right? So it's just extreme, just a vulnerability, right? When I was struggling with being jealous, it's like, yo, all right, I stood up before some people and was like, yo, I'm struggling with jealousy. Yeah, so because my thing is like, yo, if I want to get delivered, I got to confront them, right? Because I can say I'm no longer jealous, but if I'm sitting here with you and I'm still jealous and I'm wrestling. Like, bro, no, I need to talk about that. I need to strip the enemy of everything so he can no longer hold me in prison. Ooh. And so that's what that looked like for me. Everybody's is different. Mine is confronting it, exposing it in the safe space for people to hold me accountable with love and grace for me to process, and let me process it the way I need to process it.
I love that. That's powerful. Talk to me about the art of storytelling, man.
Yeah, man.
You have, like I said earlier, you have this unique skill set in which struck me, to be honest. Like, the way that you can curate a story and tell your story is super special. I think you have I think the skill set is so different, because I can tell that you can do a lot of things on the fly. Yeah. But you also have your stories that you know when to pull them out the bag. Yeah. You know? So talk to me about the art of storytelling and how one goes about picking stories. I think, like I told you before, when you are speaking in terms of like things you've experienced and whatnot, a lot of people have a hard time knowing that they experience something that isn't normal. So how can you go about speaking on things like that and curating stories? Yeah. So, man, you make a very good point with that, right? So one of the things that I tell people, man, that I ask people when they start storytelling is like, do an inventory, right? Like, do an inventory, because a lot of times, man, we overlook all of the little moments, right? Like, I went out running this morning with the guys at PAC. Yeah. And bro, I came away with a story, right? Just with that little moment, right? And I might share it, but my thing is, man, is that there's so many moments in our lives that made us who we are and who we were becoming. And so my thing is that when we start to take an inventory of defining moments, right? And not only just looking at that moment like that was a moment, but let's unpack that moment. Yeah. Like, what were you thinking in that moment leading up to that? Like, what were you feeling? What were you thinking? Who else was in that story? And what role did they play? Like, were they intentional about doing what they did? Yeah. And so it's important when you're storytelling, man, it's just really taking your time to unpack it and allowing everybody else who's watching the story unfold, like, get an opportunity to experience it. One of the greatest movies that why we fall in love with movies is, bro, because we can relate. We crying, we laughing. Why? Because we can relate. And it's the same way when you are storytelling. The people in the audience, like, man, they like, that's me. Yeah. Right? They connecting with that. And so we rob the people that we serve when we don't unpack, right? When we don't let them know how we struggle, right? Or how we overcame to become this victorious one. Yeah, because they're looking to relate to you in that story. They're looking for something that can spark that, that brain to be like, oh, I need to listen to this. Yes. They're looking for that. What does it feel like to nail a story? Yeah. What is that when you get an ovation? Yeah. I'm sure there's some sort of emotion that you feel. Can you explain that? Yeah, you know what? For me, that is my Super Bowl, right? It doesn't matter how many people in the room, if there's 1,000 or if there's one. Like, for real, like, I when I first started speaking, bro, is that, again, telling God, like, I'll just send me, I'll go, right? Yeah. That's my thing. Send me and I'll go. Bro, he sent me to this one prison, bro. Only one person showed up. Really? I preached like it was 1,000. Yeah. Right. And so the reaction of him being able to see, like, bro, this dude crazy. Like, he preaching to me like this room is full, and he is not letting up. Yeah, right. So looking around, looking at like, did anybody else show up? Yeah, for sure. And so I know that moment for him would be different, because he can relate and go back to say, man, I remember this brother showed up and he didn't care what anybody else said. That he gave me his all. That I was the most important person in the room, even though he is the only person in the room. And so when I get a reaction from people, man, it fills me up, because that is part of my love language anyway.
right? I'm words of affirmation. And so when I'm getting that, right, they filling my tank up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, somebody else who don't have that, like, that's different. But me, that's mine. Like, so when they fill me up, like, bro, it makes me go even harder.
That's real. That's real. I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and you can say no if you want.
No,
but
go ahead.
in Arizona, you gave the speech about how, or you told the story about how, you know, your father's, your experience with your father affected you.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a little bit of that story? And because I want the people to hear that and how you can curate that.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate that. You know, my dad just passed away right before Christmas, y'all. Like, and it was like a really powerful moment. It was, it has so much breath in that one moment because the man that I was looking at was not the man that I hated. Because when I was 16, somewhere around there, right? Like when I was looking for his validation, like that's all I wanted, dog. I just wanted his validation. I didn't want anybody else's, but I wanted my pop's validation. Like, for real, I wanted him to look me in my eye and say, yo, you are somebody. Like, yo, you from me. But he never gave me that. Like, when he had a moment to do that, and I gave him something that was near and dear to me, it was these college letters that I was showing him, like, yo, these colleges are looking at me. And in this moment, Jay, like, he had the power to give me life or give me death, dog. And in that moment, like, he spoke poison into me. And instead of him saying, man, I'm excited of these letters, he looked at me, man, and he took the letter and gave it back and said, Shon, you too small, and walked away. Like in that moment, I'm like, man, the man who's supposed to validate me told me that I was too small. And I'm quite sure the people that listen to you, because they listen to you because you're the underdog, right? This is for the underdog, right? This is the one that people are not rooting for, right? Like they come in here to get inspired by you. But for the underdog, like, yo, we're going to take this moment, we're going to build, right? And that's what I had to do. I had to take what my father gave me and fight and build at the same time. Just like your audience. Hey. Yeah. So that's just a little bit about my dad in that moment.
And I know you pulling, the crazy part about it for me is you're pulling from that energy tank. Like it is still evident to you.
Yes, bro.
But to be able to, I'm sure my man couldn't even tell that you were telling that story because it's authentic to you and it's vulnerable. So I appreciate you sharing that because, man, that was the story that stuck with me after I left the event in PAC. Like, it is, it's just an art, man. And I appreciate the vulnerability that you have when you're able to tell the story. And like you said,
it, bro.
it takes a special talent, man. So that was, every time I hear you speak, dog, it's like, it's powerful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, I receive it, man. And, you know, it's been an honor working with you, man. And I appreciate you giving me flowers, bro. Yeah. But I see your work, right? Like, I see the work that you do and how you are taking your craft, right? And working at it to become the best version of yourself. And so that fuels my tank, right? Like when I work with you and then I see how you tap in, like, yo, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah. No, that's real. That says a lot, man. That's something that I think that's something I've had to work on, you know, like really truly being, I think authenticity is at the core of it, like I've spoken on, but like
for real,
just being able to be in that space and be appreciative of now the interactions that I have and also how I present myself to other people in a genuine way.
Yep.
I think sometimes as athletes, we get caught up in the mode of like, this person is supposed to do this for me, this for me, as opposed to like, okay, are you putting out that same energy to where they can receive that love as well.
Yeah.
And I think too many times as men, we don't give each other enough love to
That's
be
for real,
real.
bro.
Like, you know, I make sure I tell my boys I love them.
Let's
Like
go.
that's
Let's
just
go.
part of it. So,
Let's go.
yeah, man, it's super dope. What's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Yeah.
You spoke on, you know,
Yeah.
going through some things and your journey is much more than what you spoke on here. But like,
Yeah.
give me something that Shon would tell himself at that time that your pops may have, you know, let you down. Give me
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, you know, honestly, man, what I would have wanted to tell that younger self in that moment, right? Like that, it's okay, right? And not only that, like my father, like in that moment, right? Like I'll say what I'll say to myself, but this would be important for me because in that moment, I came up with my own concepts of what just took place. But me becoming older, I realized that my father did not have the words to articulate what he really, really meant. And I believe that my father just was trying to say, like, this is going to be hard, that there are going to be challenges, and people from this community typically don't get these opportunities. And so don't get so excited because it may not happen. And not that you can't do it, Shon, because he used to show it to my games, right?
Yeah.
But it was in that moment he didn't have the words. And so when I look back at my younger self, man, is that I would really want Shon to know that he's enough and never shrink when you walk into rooms.
Walk in as yourself.
Walk in as myself. And opportunities has come. I have grown when I have embodied who I really am. I don't meet amazing people like you, right? If I am being a fraud, just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it. You praying, you asking to keep your circle clean. So somebody like me who's a fraud can't show up in your space.
Facts.
Right? So other people that's good people, they trying to keep all the wolves away.
Yeah.
And so I ask God to send me to those that I'm assigned to.
That's real.
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me what PAC has done for you,
Man.
and what it feels like being around, you know, athletes, current,
Yeah.
former. I'm sure it's a powerful room to be in.
Yes.
Tell me what PAC has done for you.
Man, you know, honestly, man, PAC has done way more for me than I have done for PAC, right? PAC for me have, I show you my vision board, right? And in my vision board, we in 25 and 23, I woke up one day in the beginning of the year and I put on my vision board that I want to speak to pro athletes. Towards the end of 23, I get a phone call from Travis saying, yo, Shon, I need you to show up on my training session. Can you talk to some athletes? Not knowing that it was going to open up a door for other opportunities, right? Then 24 comes around and I say, Lord, I want to speak to pro teams. And then what happened? Pro teams start reaching out. And so where I thought and my desire through playing collegiate football was I wanted to go pro. I thought that was my path. And coming to PAC, the Lord revealed to me, is like, Shon, I said I'll send you, but not the way that you thought you was going to go. And so PAC was an answer to that little boy in me, where that one piece still wasn't fulfilled. As I'm raising a family, helping other people, but that one piece still was, and the Lord used PAC to feel that one piece of that little boy who wanted to experience that. So PAC has given me so much life, man, letting me know that I belong. And you brothers don't even, and I don't know if it was you or somebody else, man, but somebody on a coaching call one day, just out of nowhere, was like, Shon, I want you to know that you belong. Bro, they didn't even know what they were saying, right? I didn't give them anything to trigger that. They just came out of nowhere, was like, Shon, you belong. And bro, that was even more validation of what the creator has placed on the inside of me. So PAC has just supported, solidified, and helped that one part of me that still was needing to be touched.
I love that. I love that. What's on your vision board now? You spoke about the vision board.
Yeah,
What's on it now? I'm sure you got something that you're aiming towards. What does it look like?
Yeah, so my vision board now, man, is my organization, working with fathers. So my desire, man, is that I want to take our model and take it across the country. And so that is on my vision board, is to be able to expand that work in key cities that God sends me to. And connection to that is to put me in rooms with people of influence that can assist me to bring that to realization. And so that's what's on that vision board right now, that I'm staying focused on. When he send me, I'll go.
That's powerful, man. I appreciate you pulling up, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I had wanted to have you on as soon as I found out you was gonna be here.
Yeah, bro.
And keep doing your thing, man. Because the way that you're, how talented you are, and the nature of how you go about your business is dope.
I appreciate it, Jay. I love what you're doing, man. Bro, I'll always be rocking with you, man.
Appreciate
for the underdog,
that.
dog.
Yeah, that's what it is. Appreciate you, man.
All
Thanks.
day.
Yeah, for the underdogs, I'm an underdog.